Oh my god, I didn't watch almost any of this because the premise was so funny. Chat, let's just, no preface. Raw dog it.
Hi, people. I hope this works. We're having internet problems, or I am having internet problems. So we're going to talk to, ignore, cave people with the help of Denise Ramon.
This is a channel that does the whole psychic medium talking to the dead thing. And today, they're gonna try and summon... They're gonna summon prehistoric man. Today, they are going to summon a Neanderthal. They're going to psychically channel a dead Neanderthal. So this is exciting. This is the first non-human, non-homo sapien psychic reading I've ever seen. This should be good.
Information is in the description box below, but it's also going to be on the splash screen. And Eric, my darling boy on the other side, is going to help. You ready, guys?
Yes. He says, "Hi, Mom. Hi."
Hi.
He loves you. He's just real excited to be here with us.
Are you throwing in a free pet reading?
Just real excited, real bubbly.
Awesome. We're going to probably do this in 2 parts.
Okay.
Than that, but all right. Can you get some sort of spokesman from the Neanderthal?
Can you get a spokesman from the Neanderthals? Neanderthals in the ghost ether. Amongst all Neanderthals who ever lived, one of you must step forward to talk to Denise on Zoom. Neanderthal Jesus, give me strength.
Hominid species, Eric?
He says yes, and it feels like it's masculine energy, like a man that he's bringing forward. Not that a female can't speak, but this is like the spokesperson that...
Oh, good. They clarified. They were like, "Oh, yes, I'm Grog. I am masculine, but I want to be clear. Neanderthals," I'm speaking English, by the way. Modern English. "We're not sexist. A woman could speak, but we're not gonna. I'm here. All right, let's go." I'm glad the Neanderthals weren't sexist. The wrong hominids won.
He says that feels good for me. He says it's pointing to myself and him and the person that he's bringing in. He says our energies work well together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I did the 23andMe and found out that I have a lot more Neanderthal DNA in me than a lot of people, which apparently makes sense because I have a poor sense of direction. So apparently,
what? Is that a Neanderthal thing? I'm offended on behalf of Neanderthals. Steve with the Q says, "Why did the Neanderthals die out? Because they became too woke."
Neanderthals do.
Yeah, a lot of people have Neanderthal DNA.
So, is it true, Mr. Neanderthal man? What would you like me to call you?
You know, they didn't speak English from what I'm gathering from him, or that...
No, really? I am shocked. Wow. They didn't speak English. I can't imagine why.
Wasn't your...
They probably watched this. Encino Man. No, Geico.
Everywhere I go, there's always something to...
Oh man. Remember when they made a whole show out of that? And it was terrible? I remember. Sorry, where'd Neanderthal people go? Not Mumbi, not yet. We're not ready. There they are.
their language because I'm not understanding him. So when I get that feeling, it's like the drain's clogged. And when I acknowledge that English wasn't their first language or they didn't speak English,
English isn't the Neanderthals' first language. We assume they may have learned it on Duolingo or some kind of rock lingo, if my studies of Hanna-Barbera's work are anything to go by.
then the clog opens up.
Okay.
He said there really wasn't a name to put to him back then. So I felt
They
that
would have had names if they can fucking talk to put on in the background.
Way back a long time ago.
I definitely can't play this. I assume there's a punchline. Can't play it though, for legal reasons.
but he says we can call him Tom to simplify it for us.
Tom? The Neanderthal is gonna go by Tom. Okay, Tom. Cat makes a guest appearance on the bingo card. Hello, Lou.
Yeah.
All right. Is it true that you were created by combining humanoid DNA with ape DNA, then enslaved by the Anunnaki to mine gold for them?
Okay, well, that's an out-of-pocket question now, isn't it? Out of all of the things I expected to be asked today, I didn't expect the plot to Battlefield Earth to be something I had to explain was not real. No, that did not happen. That's not what Neanderthal are. They're close relatives of Homo sapiens, or were. So no, please stop. Please stop with all that. Also, does Neanderthal know what DNA is? That's impressive. Doesn't have a name, but he knows what DNA is. Tom!
Is there any truth to that?
He says there is truth that their DNA was mixed with the humanoids, with that. Were they to slave for gold and stuff? He says we were definitely put here to do work for people.
Oh no, they're like a slave race! Like, oh no! Like by design, like house elves. That's my least favorite fictional trope. Ugh.
So Anunnaki? I mean, did you have extraterrestrial communication with the extraterrestrials?
He says yes, definitely. That was a big form of their communication, because it was he said it's kind of like it was experimental with them being here.
Yeah. So basically, they took humanoid DNA and combined it with ape DNA, or did they combine
That is not what she said. Are you listening to Tom at all? He said Neanderthal DNA was put into humanoids, or humanoid DNA was put into them. They said nothing of other apes. Are you even listening to Tom?
it with extraterrestrial DNA, like Anunnaki DNA?
Finikigami says, how would a Neanderthal so primitive that they don't have names understand any of the concepts you're asking him about? How would they understand slavery? My assumption, because they also speak English, is that, well, they've been ghosts. They got nothing else to do. They just hang out all day. They just listen to you speak. Like, imagine if you were trapped in a foreign country for thousands and thousands of years and no one could talk to you. You just listen, and eventually you learn the language, like Frankenstein's monster in the book.
And I don't get that they
See, there's precedent. Mary Shelley wrote it. It's not stupid. It's not stupid at all. Are you saying someone who fucked Lord Byron? Wait, no, were they siblings? Lord Byron's involved somewhere in here. Do you think someone Byron adjacent would write something stupid? Impossible.
combined it with ape DNA.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that from him. He's saying extraterrestrial type.
Yeah.
That's what.
Best friend's wife. Okay. In my head, I've decided they're going to have they had a three-way. Because that'll make it easier for me to justify not remembering that.
He's telling me.
I think that Anunnaki geneticist, the name of me, Big Wyatt, the rah-rah man, as Lucas called him. they tried, but it died. All the fetuses all died when they tried to combine it with ape DNA. All right. Was your race ever able to live freely side by side with humanoids?
He says,
Well, there you go. Radiology, there you go. Doesn't matter.
I'm getting yes, but not like we are living amongst each other. It was very different. And the way he showed me it, like it, because obviously it wasn't heavily populated, you know?
Yeah.
So they had their own village is what he's saying, you know, but they definitely were not enemies.
Segregation. You're describing segregation or an apartheid state.
Okay. There's evidence on certain digs that you guys practice cannibalism. Is that true? And it was just because you needed to eat, or was there some sort of
Jesus Christ, Elsa, you can't just ask people if they're cannibals. Rude.
ceremonial practice to it?
Well, he says we didn't go out. He said we didn't go out and go head hunting, you know, for
Okay.
people. But he's telling me that it is no different than us going out and hunting deer or some other kind of animal and eating it. It was the same. It was for survival, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and he
Elsa's like, oh yeah, you know, you eat people. It happens.
says, you know, for us there was no difference, you know. It wasn't like oh, we can't eat that because of this.
Yeah, she is using humanoids to say humans when Neanderthals would be humanoid, because a humanoid is someone who's like bipedal and like a human. Like you would describe other species in like Star Trek, humanoid, right? Neanderthals definitely are that.
For him, he's saying it was no different than us going deer hunting, hog hunting,
Yeah.
and stuff.
Those would be very different activities, even culturally, in societies where cannibalism happens. Usually there is a specific significant mythological or sociological purpose. It is not typically just, we just do it cuz. There have been survival situations, but not like usually just like whatever. It's still usually considered like a thing. It's considered sacred or important or a last resort in times of like famine or something like that, or it's ceremonial to represent times when people have done that sort of thing, or whatever. Like there are reasons. They don't just do it just cuz. Why not? Ugh. Benikagami says, by that logic, though, why aren't they asking about the real mysteries, like can ghosts travel through space? Who started World War I? Confirm which version of Jesus is true. Have they seen angels as a ghost?
Like that.
They're on different Wi-Fi frequencies, so no, they can't see each other.
Yeah.
Humans, it's the other white meat. Were you a migratory species? Like nomads?
Garotz, thanks for 21 months, says, Tom the Neanderthal will be right back, only on CBS.
Yeah, he said we were. You know, they didn't have, as he says, permanent residency, you know, residence like we do now. He said, yeah.
I'm confused by the level of knowledge that Tom does and does not have.
There was no, this is my house, this is my cave, he says, you know.
This is my cave. Like, at this point, shouldn't Tom be like, no, we were pre-agricultural. Like, presumably Tom knows about agriculture and homes, right? Because he just said they didn't have homes. So why did he say it that way? Shouldn't it be like, oh no, we were non-agricultural? You know what I mean?
Just, it wasn't like that.
This doesn't sound like a Neanderthal. It sounds like older bored lady trying to speak like she is a Neanderthal and coming off like an idiot.
Because you just stayed in a destination place for a certain period of time and then you moved because you had to move because you had to go where the resources were.
And also weather probably made you migrate.
Yes, yeah, definitely the weather.
Yeah, the weather too. I definitely thought of that.
Were you a patriarchal or a matriarchal society?
Or
neither?
That sigh. Tom does not want to open up about this. This is a rough issue for Tom.
I get like they were both, is what he's
Yeah.
saying.
Egalitarian. Incredible Neanderthals. You're killing it.
That's what I'm
I
getting.
get both, yeah.
How did you communicate? Was
Those are conflicting, by the way. You could say they're egalitarian, but you can't say it's both matriarchal and patriarchal, because those are mutually exclusive.
it verbally, grunts and whatever, or did you have any kind of language, or was it telepathy?
It was that last one. That's how they're talking.
He says the majority of it was telepathy.
Of course, obviously.
Of course, they
I'm a fool for not knowing that.
they made noises. I feel like they also had their own language,
Oh,
you know, for certain things.
What do you mean you feel it? Shouldn't you just ask Tom?
That's what he's showing. They had their own language.
and you,
Do you feel it, or is he telling you that?
okay.
It wasn't like us learning the vowels or something like that, you know, that we
You know, vowels. The thing she remembers from school 50 years ago.
attached to the sounds, but they had their own language. And
All consonants. Fenekagami says cannibals would also have methodology to the practice, like monkeys do cannibalism, but primarily when one monkey tribe fights another, they'll sometimes eat the slayed and pass the meat around. Savagery narratives are annoying.
Like the word, the more vocalization rather than phonetics, like grunts and clicks and
he says,
Yikes.
yes, but I just feel like it was more than that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see how he's describing it. It's, you could tell by the tone how things were, is what I'm getting, you know, like
That's a thing in language now!
yeah, he says,
Interpretation.
he says like, you're just doing the, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he
And
says that
gestures,
is,
like
yeah, and he's telling me our the oh and the oh, that is like our true self, like our true answers coming out, like, you know, those, yeah, just like you just
Ooh.
did. He said,
Oh,
yeah.
now I'm totally aware of it. What about written language? Did you have any kind of written language? If so, that makes sense that I have a lot of Neanderthal in me, because my writing is like, if it's little scratches, it's Neanderthal scratches.
I don't feel like they had writing like sentences and stuff like that. How he shows me they did things more in pictures, drawings and
Yeah,
stuff.
pictographs?
Yeah, just, yeah, like that. It's more drawings and stuff, to tell the story of what it is they're wanting.
Oh, yeah, like
I have that Neanderthal in me too. I did the 23andMe.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
I was
Mine was
just like,
55%, but I can't remember. Is it like you have more DNA than
Tom says, do you... No! Nope.
55%
Moving on.
of the others? I don't know.
oh, yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Mine comes from my mother's side of the family.
I thought with Rooney's big brow that he had more, but he's only 2%, more than 2%. Whatever. I can't remember how it goes. Okay.
You're all thinking it anyway, so I don't even need
Did
to
you
say
have
it. It's
several
fine.
partners, or were you monogamous as a general rule?
Well, he says monogamous wasn't a word that they used, and
He knows it now, though.
it's not, he says it's not, they didn't have possessions, and that's really kind of how
I find it a little telling that she considers monogamy inherently possessive.
they would have related that word to something as a possession, and so there weren't any possessions, you know. He's saying
That's...
he just calls it possessions is what he says. That's what that word means, like you have to stick to this one thing, and I don't feel like they did that. I just don't feel like they had that. But it wasn't that they were It definitely wasn't cheating or anything like
No,
that.
if you don't figure. So basically, you did not mate for life. It was pretty much any important
Benigami says, ask Tom, is strength, dexterity, or vigor build best?
the storm.
He says yes, but there were some people that stayed with one another, but I just don't get that that was something that they how would I say that, like they didn't put emphasis on that.
It's like with many animals in the wild, right?
Right,
Some mate for
yeah,
life, some
yeah.
have the contest between the alpha males, etc. Was there
The
And
something?
he's
math
also well, he also is saying, and they knew intuitively or instinctively, like there are some things that needed to keep going, so they knew the I guess for me to understand, like certain DNA needed to continue with
Yeah.
other people and stuff like
they
that.
did.
So
She is claiming Neanderthals understood how heritable features worked.
they just knew that it wasn't
Wow.
yeah, it just wasn't about, oh, you can't be with that person, or I want that man, or I want that woman.
So was there courtship, were mates assigned by elders, or was it like the Rams where they, battled for the best females or something like that? Did you fall in love?
Definitely a lot of emotion. I feel like a lot of emotions, like
Hey,
that same
non-binary.
feeling, like he says, a lot of heart was going on, a lot of heart went on. But then there was some, you just, that's what you did was he says you mated for the purpose of co-creation,
Yeah.
um, and I'm asking him, did they ever have cases of rape or stuff like that? Because
Yeah.
you wonder, did they have that back then? And
Yeah.
he says, every species has something like that.
What about
Every species.
what about homosexuality? Was that practiced at all?
Oh, I knew this was gonna come up. I knew her brain couldn't help herself from asking, hey, so was there gay shit? I knew it. I knew she was gonna do this. Boy, Rasoma, thanks for gifting a sub.
It is in most animals.
He said yes, but it wasn't called that because it was a natural.
Yeah.
Accidentally based on the bingo card. Tom is the best person in this video and he's not real.
Process, and it was nobody thought anything about it because he says we're both energies, so nobody thought about it. And when he says nobody, he says, I'm sure there was one or
Very true, non-binary, very true.
two that might have done stuff, but it just didn't have that same content that we
Right.
have struggles with today.
So, but did you fall in love with the opposites or the same sex? Doesn't make a difference. Did you have the capacity to fall in love?
Oh yes, oh definitely, yes.
Okay, what was it? Was it courtship or assignment of mates, or you just mutually chose each other? Or
They fucked
He tells
Elsa.
me,
They already explained.
it was all of the above. It just depends,
on the village?
yeah, because sometimes the parents would see their young kids and like say they were happy, like the Smiths were real happy and good friends with the Joneses. So when they had their kids, they
Was that their names, the Smiths and the Joneses?
would make an agreement for them two to come together, and stuff like that. Some of it was where, you just really, it was like what we would say love at first sight, and some of it was, it's like that's just what you do,
Yeah.
and and but it wasn't, till death do us part type of a relationship. But he's showing me how, because of how they were, it's like everybody worked together. you
Okay.
know?
They had
So
to.
it wasn't
In a community.
like,
Does she know she's describing communism, basically?
yeah, it wasn't like,
She's
you know,
describing communist
the Bills
Neanderthal
over here
society.
do their thing, while the Johnsons are over here doing their thing. You know, they all work together and doing things
Well,
together.
I mean, the population was pretty sparse. Did y'all engage in incest at all?
Why would you ask that? What are you doing? Oh.
Um, I do get that family members did intertwine from him,
Okay.
and he tells me because more of lack of information, not knowing, not knowing
Yeah.
things.
So they understood heritable traits and DNA, but they didn't know they shouldn't fuck their siblings or cousins. Makes sense. Makes total sense.
Yeah. All right. There's this book, Eaters of the Dead, which is basically Michael Crichton took the journals from this Moroccan journal.
I'm sorry, are you under the impression that the Neanderthal Tom is familiar with Michael Crichton, and that information is helpful to his understanding of the situation you're describing?
List back in the Viking period. And the Vikings, he would follow them along and totally record everything. It was fascinating. You just felt like you were there in the Viking age. And one of the things that constantly occurred were these horrible monsters would come into the longhouse and eat a bunch of them and raid them, kill them. And many think that that was probably just a few remaining Neanderthals doing these attacks. Is that true?
He said yes.
What about, any of you left anywhere, even in remote islands off of Greenland or anything like
How would he know that? He's a ghost!
that?
Why would a ghost have contemporary information?
He said no because of evolution, evolving and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Better understanding than Kent Hovind?
He
So I'll give Tom that.
said no. It's almost like they what we would call when extinct, yeah, is what he says. And it's because their tour of duty, as Eric says, was over with.
No.
Tom, his name was Tom. Did you change his name to Eric? Is he going by Eric now? Or is this a different guy? Do you have a Tom and an Eric? Did I miss something?
How long was your lifespan? I mean,
I'm getting like I'm getting up into the hundreds, like 80s to the hundreds.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Some of them would live. Yeah.
What was the most common cause of death? Probably accidents, I'm saying.
Just their teeth wearing out and they can't eat anymore. You know how it is.
When you said that, he said fallen, fallen. He also shows me some is starvation that went on.
Lots of dysentery.
They didn't really have the diseases like we have today.
I was going
Oh.
to ask.
Because-
Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't have the products that causes those
Yeah,
diseases.
Oh,
bad diets,
no!
processed food. Yeah.
Most diseases are not caused by processed food. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and the chemicals in the air and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
Chemical fear-mongering. Fennick says incest repellence is basically instinctual in all mammals. It's why most mammal families separate before sexual maturity. Your brain is somewhat hardwired to not see people you see as family as potential mates, which is good.
I get hunger is one, falling, and I because they had to. I get like they traveled a lot because he's showing me his feet, so they did.
Show feet! I've traveled hundreds of thousands of years to commune with you. Look at my feet!
a lot of walking, and I just get like
Is this how old people work out their fetishes? They can't just jerk it, so they go online and pretend to talk about Neanderthal ghosts with their friends and slip in their weird incest foot kinks.
falling and stuff, and I get like around a lot of big rocks,
Yeah.
and I'm like talking like almost boulder-sized rocks and stuff like that.
A rock the size of a boulder!
I
Not a boulder! It's a rock!
just and sometimes, you know, there were attacks on them by other animals and
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm sure. Or each
Yeah.
other. Did you ever murder? I mean, yes, hunting for food, but did you ever, were there any murders?
He said we did have personality conflicts, you know,
Like your-
but
Oh,
yeah,
Tom
it's
murdered people. We got the serial killer Neanderthal. Did you ever murder anyone? Look, we had personality conflicts, okay? Let's not get into it. We're all dead now. It's equal. It doesn't even matter. The amount of life I took away from them is basically a rounding error at this point. It's fine.
he says definitely that was there, but as far as murders, you know, I don't feel like they were that barbaric, you know,
Okay.
but I do get that that wasn't. I don't get that that was a zero situation. Like that never happened. I don't get that. I'm what I feel from him. There were things that did happen, you know, that
Yeah.
that
Okay.
split communities and stuff like that.
Now, I want to clarify the lifespan. I'm getting that the longevity, probably you're referring 80 to 100 is the longest ever living. Because it seems like I've read that it's the average is not that long. But am I wrong?
Well, and when you say that, he's telling me like there were a lot of women who died during childbearing years
Okay.
because they just
But
didn't
imagine
have
during childbirth.
proper facilities or whatever to help
Yeah, nothing.
with
There's
things.
nothing.
Yeah. So I do feel like that, and I also get that there was deaths amongst children, that was common.
Yeah.
But he says that they did live a long time,
Okay.
a good portion, but it depends on the region, on
Oh,
where they
yeah.
were,
That
the
makes sense.
region. And but he says you are correct, where their lifespan was maybe I'm getting he's
Average.
showing me
Yeah.
45, like 45.
What I'm
you
getting
know?
is Neanderthals had calendars, since they're able to track the years so effectively. I have to urine real quick, so I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. I'll return right after this. After these messages. After these messages. Here, Chair, we'll talk about Ice Cream Man. We'll be right back. I've returned.
Now, and that all depends on the region, because that depends on the resources of what they have and stuff. And he says, and I also get from him sometimes that they kind of knew when their time was coming up.
Okay, interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you wear any body coverings, like clothes or coverings for your feet?
I get during different types of seasons or weathers, whether they wore
Regions?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wore covers, cover ups or whatever.
Yeah,
Of
furs,
course,
obviously, yeah.
yeah, it wasn't a sewn outfit. I don't see anything like that. But as he's shown me, they did learn how to pull things
Tom's just a
together with
liar. They got the lyingest Neanderthal.
branches when you
He just likes
peel the
attention.
branches of
Oh,
something,
right.
and how they would pull things together with that. Maybe
Oh,
I don't know, tie something up, or I don't know. But he said they did wear clothing to a degree.
okay.
He's showing me, yeah, they did, but it depended on the region, on where they lived, as to what type of clothing they had on.
Okay. Did you have any religious beliefs? I'm going to be looking up something real quick while you answer that.
He says they did believe in the astrology, like the sun, the sun and the
Astrology, the
stars and stuff.
sun.
They did believe in that.
Oh, wow.
I also feel like they had a belief system in some form of God, because it was not the Jesus God, not that kind
Yeah.
of God. It was some kind of gods, he said, and I feel like it's like,
Not the Jesus kind of God is the most white, like, boomer thing to say when, how when you think of religion and the only thing you think of is Jesus? The other ones, sweetie. Like,
this information
Christ.
was given to them when they came here or something like that, is how
Oh,
he's
wow.
showing me.
Okay. Interesting. Because of the ETs, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like it's something from there to let them, but it wasn't like the gods, like the churchy God like we have here. It wasn't like that type of
Churchy
religion.
God.
It was more of rituals, he said they had.
And Christianity doesn't have any rituals.
Okay. Did you have laws amongst yourselves? And if so, how were they enforced? Or was it?
He laughs when you say that. Of course they would have stuff like, you can't go past this brick wall, this wall.
They had bricks? That's breaking news. This is why you shouldn't talk about shit when you don't know what you're talking about, because you accidentally say stuff like that and don't realize you sound like an idiot because you don't realize you've added an anachronistic detail. A brick wall Neanderthals had. Bricks aren't an invention, right? They've just always been there.
Wall of rocks past a certain
yeah.
time of day.
Oh,
and stuff.
wall of rocks. Rocks and bricks are different. Those are two different things.
They had stuff like that. They had those kind of things. It was more about for protection. But there wasn't, I don't feel like they had, I feel like they had curfews, like you can only go
they probably
here
have
at
to.
certain time.
Yeah.
You can only go there at certain times and stuff like that, because
Or else what?
he said
Are there cops?
they were
Are there Neander cops?
a hard-working bunch, and I feel like they did a lot of traveling.
A cab. All cavemen are bastards.
Sounds like it. They were very nomadic.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of traveling.
Okay.
And
how did they figure out the new rules about where the stone wall would be? Stonewall, when they moved around, they were moving around all the time, but they had stone walls? That's counterintuitive, isn't it? They had stone walls, but also they were nomadic. Did they move the stone walls with them?
yeah, and he says this is where you're wanting to know if they wore shoes in that, because I feel like they used animal skin and parts of plant life to wrap around their feet.
Oh. The thing I was looking up was in 1925, a Neanderthal surgeon may have performed trepanation, drilling
Trepanation.
a hole in the 40,000 years ago, the first surgical procedure that ever was made in the human. Can you tell me about that?
Does she think that all Neanderthals knew each other? They were around. It was a whole species. They didn't have CNN. It wasn't on the news. This just in, Dr. Ugenschmerz over in Africa recently did surgery. Over to you, Grog. Thanks, Oog. Today we're here to tell, like, how would they know? They didn't have communication. It wasn't a news story.
Why did a Neanderthal drill a hole in another Neanderthal's head? I don't even know if he was dead or alive. So,
Well, they called it a surgery, so what do you think? If they're dead, that's not surgery. That's just fucking with a corpse. God, these people are dumb. They're so dumb, and they don't even know how dumb they are. I'm gonna cry.
Wowee. He's telling me that I feel like there was ET assistance with that.
oh,
Don't worry, aliens helped him out. That explains it.
it may have been.
The aliens were like, hey, the Neanderthals were like, this guy's got a headache, what do we do? And the aliens, fucking with them, said, poke a hole in his skull. See what it does. Neanderthals couldn't have figured that out themselves. They needed aliens to tell them, what if you poked a hole in that guy's head? That might be fun.
To relieve pressure on the brain after head injury, or to release evil spirits from the head. I mean, why was the one that
We taught them wrong intentionally, as a joke.
was found? Why was
Let's fuck it, you know? I'll say, yeah, racist disbelief of historical achievements. Sorry, Neanderthals.
that
This is close enough.
done?
They're hominids, it counts.
He's showing me that it was to relieve pressure, but not pressure so that they live like we do now, and they have pressure and we go in there and do something. I feel like it was a ritual type event is what went on.
Okay.
And I also get like
Maybe she is an anthropologist. When she doesn't know something, she just says it's ritualistic in nature.
showing me
Ceremonial, probably.
something like they believed that the brain stored some valuable
Oh,
substance of something like that.
I think in this case there was bone growth after the trepanation. So, maybe they
Wow.
said, oh, head hurts or whatever, and then they just did that to see if it would help, or who knows.
It was you. You lived
Yeah.
back then and messed with Neanderthals for fun. Admit it. Have you seen Prometheus and Bob? A lot like that.
I don't get that because they didn't really have any anesthesia like we do, but they did have stuff, plant life type stuff to help numb things when,
Yeah.
But I don't get from him like they were at that time and space where they were performing surgeries on people.
All right, I don't think so either. All right, let's
Tea
go ahead.
Time Tea says, who knows, says someone who thinks she's talking to a primary source. Right? Like, she keeps flipping between clearly talking to someone who she's not, but she's claiming she is, and then being like, I feel this, or I feel that. That's not how you talk if you have someone right there you're talking to. That's nonsense. She can't even keep it consistent where she's getting this information.
And stop
Is she
part
talking to a ghost, or is she intuiting it?
1, and we will restart, and y'all hit the notification bell so you don't miss part 2, because this is fascinating. I think there's going to be many parts because we've only done like 12 questions and we got 54. So
What? You have 4 questions for the caveman? Jesus Christ. Alright, well that was part 1. Part 2 we'll watch on next Tinfoil Day. So stay tuned for that. Let's move on now, because we've been doing that forever.